love it if Jaymie could explain that to us and tell us maybe why we should utilize this form.
I'd be happy to, having now what you asked me 3 minutes ago for the first time to do this, just happened to be in Billings teaching a class. But yeah, I'm happy to. So the Foreign Investment and Real Property Tax Act is basically a section of federal law involving tax code that requires buyers to withhold money from the purchase price in the event that the seller is a foreign entity, a foreign national. And the intent of it is to say, the government doesn't want sellers taking their proceeds and moving it offshore to a foreign country without paying the fair share of their tax to the federal government. And so where it gets invoked is if the real estate is worth more than $300,000, or I should say this way, it doesn't apply if the real estate is under $300,000 and the buyer intends to reside there for at least 2 years post-closing. What I will tell you is that given the amount of increase in the real estate market is if you have a real estate transaction and the price is $300,000 or more, you should have the seller execute a document in the MAR form directory called a Statement of Non-Foreign Status that basically represents and provides cover to the buyer, for lack of a better word, that the buyer is not a foreign, or seller is not a foreign national and not subject to withholding tax, so that the buyer doesn't get in trouble if that is in fact the case, that the seller's a foreign citizen.
Wonderful.
Thank
you.
No idea. I always read this part, but I was like, what does this all mean? So
and I didn't even know that there was a correlating form that we could be utilizing, so thank you so much.
Yeah, and I think, last thing I'll say real quick is that I think sometimes title companies will take care of making certain this gets done.
Yeah,
but,
that's
if not, it's just something to think about, that if you're representing a buyer and the buyer's the one who gets penalized if the money's not getting withheld, it's probably a good idea in what are now most transactions, because they're over 300, to have the seller sign a non-foreign status, because 99% of the time the sellers aren't foreign anyways.
What if they refuse to sign it?
Well, then you got to decide whether or not you're going to accept the risk of closing a transaction knowing that. That would certainly be a red flag to me, and you could point to the buy-sell agreement that says that they will.
Okay.
It's lines 427 to 432.
Gotcha. Okay. And there's been some lawsuits happening recently, right, in Montana?
I don't know of any lawsuits on FIRPTA. I know that there's been transactions that I've been involved in where we've actually had to withhold money, and it's a little bit of a cumbersome and awkward process. It's not your typical transaction, but I would tell you this, is that if you do have a situation where a seller is a foreign entity and the withholding has to take place, sometimes the title companies don't want to get into that, and you probably need to go and find that out early so that you can go hire the appropriate tax professional who has some international experience, either an accountant or an attorney.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jaymie, for clarifying that for all of us.
You're welcome.